Motherhood completes womanhood. Breastfeeding completes motherhood. It's a lie that has been drilled into our heads. Something which we need to understand is that these are individual entities and they are existent individually. But why breastfeeding is important to a child is something which we all need to know. And if you want to opt out of it, it's your choice. So the recommendation is exclusive breastfeeding for first 6 months of life, which means that no drinks like water, honey, glucose water, gripe water, juices, animal milk, powdered milk, nothing except breast milk for first 6 months of age. The only thing that is excluded is the medicines which are provided for indication, like medical indications. So who are at risk of breastfeeding failure? One, preemies. The preemie mothers, the first time delivered mothers are always under immense pressure from the peers and parents, neighbors. Everyone keeps on like giving suggestions which puts you under immense pressure. History of inadequate breastfeeding in your first pregnancy, history of lactation failure in one of your distant relatives, everything puts you under gives you a lot of tension as to what is going to happen in this case. And in mothers who are forced to go for work or for some reason who have got a preconceived notion that they are not going to complete breastfeeding till exclusive breastfeeding till 6 months of age, they are at risk of lactation failure. And if mother has some physical problems like back pain, nipple problems, and any sort of problems that prevent mother from comfortably feeding the child, all these compounds to breastfeeding failure. And someone who is reluctant to breastfeed, even if they are convinced later, they may have a problem in falling in track. So first and foremost, we need to know the benefits of breastfeeding. And after knowing all of that, if you want to opt out, is your choice. So first of all, it's the nutritional benefits. It's a complete food, easily digestible form, easily available. It contains all fats, carbohydrates, proteins, minerals, water, lipase, everything in the right quantity. It has a lot of benefits like neurodevelopmental outcome is better in kids. There are studies shown that at 8 years of age, babies who are exclusively breastfed till 6 months of age have got better IQ. And DHA, which you have seen in all tin foods, baby foods, are freely available in breast milk, and that is believed to be good for the baby's brain. One of the most common complaints of non-breastfed or formula-fed infants or animal-fed infants is constipation. That problem doesn't occur in breastfed babies because of many factors: increased better enzymes for digestion, better microbial flora, like better bacteria reside in the guts of these babies. And because of huge unabsorbed lactose quantity, the stool are mostly softer, and they pass more frequent stools and more softer stools. In preterm babies, breast milk poses lesser risk for development of NEC, necrotizing enterocolitis, which is a condition that affects the intestine of usually preterm babies. Babies who are exclusively breastfed have lesser infection rates. You can just imagine the number of interfaces that happens in a baby who was bottle fed. Water coming from somewhere, the utensil for boiling the water, the spoon, the flask, the glass, the bottle, the nipple, lot of things. Whereas in breastfeeding, it's mother and baby alone. And so the chances of infection is much higher when the baby is bottle fed. And on top of that, breast milk contains many anti-infective agents that protects the baby from catching an infection. Other benefits for the baby include emotional security, better social development, long-term protection from dental caries, otitis media, obesity, other lifestyle diseases like coronary artery disease, diabetes mellitus, hypertension, cancer, allergy, asthma. And in preterm babies, lesser chance of developing retinopathy of prematurity, that is mainly seen in preterm babies. Maternal benefits are better secretion of oxytocin while breastfeeding, and that helps in contraction of the uterus and thus decreased bleeding post delivery. Breastfeeding sucks out a lot of calories from the mother's body, and so the weight gain seen post delivery is lesser in exclusively breastfed mothers. Protection from next pregnancy because it prevents ovulation for a longer time. Lower risk of breast and ovarian cancer. Lesser workload. Like prima facie, you may think that giving a bottle feed is much easier, but when you think of filling the baby's tummy, breastfeeding takes hardly 10 to 15 minutes, whereas for a bottle feeding, right from the time you start buying the powder, boiling the water, if you start calculating, I think each feed would take at least half an hour effort for the baby to have a full tummy. And breastfeeding is much more comfortable when you have to travel. Otherwise, you may have a huge kit just exclusively for babies feeding alone, which is not at all needed when the baby is exclusively breastfed. The benefits to the family and society: the better child survival rate, lesser cost for babies' feeds and the illnesses caused because of that, lesser pollution for the environment, lesser resources consumed, and ultimately exclusively breastfeed produces better individuals for future. So all in all, however hard you try, formula feed is going to be much inferior than breastfeeding. So the choice is between water from flask, powder from tin, spoon to stir, bottle to fill, checking the temperature, boiling the nipple, and a lot of things in between, and creating a risky manual method to feed the child, or choose a fill it, shut it, forget it option of a safe automatic dispenser. Knowing all this, if you want to go for formula feed, again, it's your choice. No one has any right to blame you for your choice. And sometimes you're forced to go for formula feeds because of lack of milk. You don't have to feel guilty about it. When you don't have the best option, you will have to go for the best available option. So now coming to certain specific entities in breastfeeding. One is colostrum. You must have heard of that term. That is the milk, thick yellowish colored milk which comes in first 2 to 5 days post delivery. It is secreted in very small quantity, less than 100 ml per day, but it is sufficient to meet the caloric needs of the baby. It is easily digestible, and above all, it is the first immunization that is given to the baby. It has got a lot of anti-infective properties. And so it is very important to start breastfeeding as soon as the delivery happens, so that the baby gets the full benefit of colostrum. First 6 months post delivery, a mother on an average produces around 600 ml per day. The next 6 months it's around 500 ml per day, and then it's around, for another year, it's around 400 ml per day. For the first 6 months, 600 ml per day is what a baby requires. And from then on, the baby gets other food, complementary feeds, and along with that, a 500 ml of milk would suffice. And from then on, the baby is going to, after 1 year, the baby is going to eat from the family pot, and so 400 ml per day is sufficient enough. So first 6 months, 600 ml per day is on an average the requirement of a baby. And on top of that, we create a need. We think that the baby requires. So this is all what that baby requires, and most of the time, the baby gets that. And the weight gain of the baby is around 1 kg per month for first 3 months, and then 500 gram per month for the next 3 months. So the drop from 4th month onwards in the weight gain is physiological. It's quite natural. It's not because of decrease in milk. So you don't have to worry about that and start complementary feeds at that point. Complementary feeds is required only from 7th month onwards. So first 6 months it's around 600 ml per day, and in twin babies, most of the mothers produce around 1000 to 1200 ml per day. It's customized. That is, in preterm babies, the quantity will be slightly less, but with more calories and proteins. And in twins, the production of milk will be much higher for a mother. We need to know a little bit of physiology and anatomy for proper feeding. Physiology, basically, you need two hormones for proper feeding. One is prolactin and one is oxytocin. So unless this production of these hormones are adequate, the milk production is not going to be adequate. So prolactin is a hormone that is for production of milk, and the factors that enhance prolactin production is emptying of breast, sucking of the baby, expression of milk, night feeds. All this increase the prolactin production, which in turn increases the milk production. If the baby is bottle fed, if there is incorrect positioning, if there is a painful breast and the milk is stagnant in the breast, it's going to hinder the prolactin production and in turn the milk production. Oxytocin is the hormone which is required for milk ejection reflex. That is, whatever milk is there needs to come out. For that, the muscles around the ducts needs to relax, and for that, oxytocin hormone is important. So when the baby is there in front of the mother, when the mother thinks lovingly of the baby, the sight of the baby, the sound of the baby, all these increases the oxytocin production, and the mother is going to start secreting milk even if the baby is not sucking. When the mother is worried, when the mother is stressed, when the mother is in tension, when the mother is in pain, oxytocin production is impaired, and that causes a problem. And even if the milk is there in the mother's breast, that is not going to come out. The anatomy which you need to know is that the milk production happens within the breast, and from there it is stored in something called as lactiferous sinus, and this lactiferous sinus happens to be behind the areola and not inside the nipple. So when you try to express the milk, if you press the nipple, milk is not going to come out. The milk is going to spurt when the pressure is applied around the areola. That's where the lactiferous sinus is, and that's where the milk is stored. So sucking the nipple, when the baby sucks the nipple, it causes crack of the nipple and the baby is not going to get adequate milk. The baby needs to suck around the areola where the milk is actually stored. So these things are basically basic knowledge we need to know for a proper feeding. Now coming to the technique of breastfeeding. A lot of blame game happens when the mother is unable to properly breastfeed, because that's something which everyone knows and everyone does, and why does this mother doesn't know about it? It's something like learning driving. A lot of people drive, but unless you learn the technique of driving, you won't be able to drive properly. And once you are accustomed to it, once you're used to it, you don't have to get too stressed about a proper driving. So the technique of breastfeeding, there are few points you need to know. One is four general points, 4 points on position and 4 points of attachment. So general point 1, the mother has to be relaxed. If the mother is tensed, as I told earlier, oxytocin secretion doesn't happen. Milk, although is there, won't be coming out. The ejection doesn't happen. The mother should have adequate nutrition and hydration. Proper nutrition and hydration, at least 3 liters of water a day. And it doesn't mandatorily require milk, that the mother need not drink a lot of milk so that the milk production increases. The mother has to get proper nutrition and hydration, that's all. Mixed diet. She can eat whatever she used to eat earlier in right proportion and quantities. The mother should be in a comfortable posture. That is, if the usual mistake that happens is the mother tends to lean forward while breastfeeding, and that causes stiffness of back, and that will create a problem in future feeding as well. So always the mother has to be sitting or lying down with the back supported so that there is no strain on the back. And the baby should be calm and active. If the baby is crying his heart out, the baby won't be able to suck properly, the baby won't be feeding properly. So you should catch the cues that the baby shows, like baby starts sucking the thumb, starts sucking the cloth. These are cues that baby gives when the baby is hungry. So catch the cues, start feeding when the baby is ready to feed. If the baby has already started crying, put the baby on the shoulder, pat, pacify the baby. Once the baby is calm, try feeding again. Next thing is position. 4 points in position. Position means the axis between the mother and the baby. So in position, one is the head and body of the baby should be in a straight line. The head and body should be well supported. The body should be turned towards the mother, and the baby's body should be close towards the mother. The umbilicus of the baby should be touching the mother's abdomen. So this is the way the baby should be breastfed. While holding the baby, it's fine to hold the baby like this, but while feeding, the baby should be turned towards you and close towards you. All these points will sound similar, but the difference is, see, if you are trying to drink from a glass of water, but your neck is too extended or too flexed, you won't be able to drink properly. It has to be in a straight line. So that's why the body and head should be in a straight line. And since the baby can't hold the head by its own, both should be well supported as well. And you are asked to drink water, but your body is facing straight and you are asked to drink from one side. When you turn towards one side, you won't be able to drink properly. So that's why instead of turning the baby's head alone, it's important to turn the whole body of the baby. The baby's body should be facing towards the mother's body. The next thing is, baby's body should be close towards the mother. So if you're trying to drink from a glass of water which is kept far away, any of these, what happens is you won't be comfortable drinking the water, and once your minimal thirst is satisfied, you tend to stop to feed. So same thing happens to the baby. So unless the mother and baby is in a comfortable position, the feeding is not going to be proper. So the common positions from which you can choose from are, one is cradle hold, which is the most common one. This is cradle hold. That is, if you're feeding from the left breast, you use the same side hand, left hand, support the baby's head on your elbow. The palm should be supporting the baby's buttocks. Then you have the cross cradle. If you're feeding from the left breast, you hold the baby's head with the right hand and secondary support with your left hand. Then you have got the underarm or full board position, where the baby's head is held like a goalie holds the football. The head is supported, the baby's body goes behind, but the head and body is supported. This position is usually used in twin feeding, so that you can hold two babies. The other baby can be held like this and this baby can be held like this. Again, the tendency to lean forward is much higher. So always sit upright and hold the babies straight up. Then you have got the straddle position, where the baby is mostly used in preterm babies, where the baby is held in between your breast and then fed. And then you have got supine lying position, where the mother is supine and the baby is kept on top of the mother. This is usually used in the labor room, post delivery, and in cesarean. And then you have got side lying position. This is a little bit confusing for all, whether baby can be fed in a lying down position. Whether you are lying down or you are sitting, the baby's position is always lying down. So there is no harm in feeding the baby in side lying position, but make sure that the head end of the baby is slightly elevated, and more importantly, the mother is alert and awake when the feeding happens. Then you have got attachment. Attachment is basically the relationship between the mouth and the breast. So the chin of the baby should be denting the breast. The lower lip should be everted. It should be opened outwards. The baby's mouth should be wide open, enclosing the areola and not the nipple. And lower areola should be maximum inside the mouth, and the upper areola may be a little bit visible, that's fine. But maximum areola should be within the baby's mouth. So these 4 points are important when you look at attachment. The next question is, how frequently do you need to feed the baby? A healthy newborn baby decides how frequently the baby needs to feed. It's demand feeding. For a preterm baby, we usually tell that the baby has to be fed every 2-3 hours in fixed quantities if the baby is too small. But for a term newborn baby, it is demand feeding. Usually, initially, it's around 30 to 40 minutes per feed, and that happens every 2 to 3 hours. That is around 10 to 12 feeds per day. Gradually, what happens is the baby learns to feed properly. So the half an hour feed becomes 15 to 20 minutes, and then later 5 to 10 minutes. And this 10 to 12 feeds become 6 to 8 feeds in 24 hours. So the gap increases. So this is usual pattern, or this is gradually how the pattern of feeding changes. So leave the timetable. Don't try to force feed the baby and make it demand feeding. Catch the cues. That is very important. Once the baby starts giving cues of hunger, feed the baby immediately. Don't wait till the baby starts yelling. At least 8 to 10 feeds in 24 hours during initial days, and it's important not to skip the night feeds. And then now coming to what are the signs of proper feeding. That is, you're doing whatever is required to see whether the baby is feeding properly or not. Usually the baby's cheeks are full when the baby is feeding. So the milk may be drooling as well. So if the cheeks are drawn in, it means that the baby is not getting milk. You must have noticed that when you drink through a straw, When the glass is empty, your cheeks get drawn in. Otherwise, when the juice is coming in free flow, our cheeks are full. So similarly, when the baby is getting milk adequately, when the baby is sucking properly, the baby's cheeks will be full and not drawn in. Rhythmic suck, swallow, pause pattern happens. That is, baby sucks for a few times and the baby waits, swallows the milk and then pauses for a second and then starts feeding again. One mistake usually happens is once the baby sucks vigorously, we know that the baby is sucking, the baby swallows and then baby waits for a pause and immediately the mother or the bystander tries to wake up the baby. After 3-4 attempts, the baby gets fed up and the baby tends to stop feeding. So the suck, swallow, pause pattern is something which we need to understand and we need to leave the baby at his or her will. And proper feeding is actually pain-free feeding. The mother should not have back pain, the mother no shoulder pain, there should not be nipple crack. So any of these things happening suggest that there is a problem in your position or attachment. Now, you're feeding properly, the baby is sucking properly. How do you know that the baby is getting adequate milk? If the baby is passing urine at least 6 to 8 times in 24 hours, the baby is getting adequate milk for that particular day. Stool frequency is highly variable and doesn't imply anything about the adequacy of breastfeeding. If the baby is sleeping for 2 to 3 hours in between feeds, it means that the baby is getting adequate milk. And this 2 to 3 hours may be there during daytime and nighttime, it may be slightly shorter because the baby tends to feed more at night because oxytocin, prolactin production is more at night. And so for the same effort they put during day and night, they get more output at night. So they tend to feed more at night. So the frequency may be slightly higher. So the 2-3 hours gap may not be actually happening at night. The baby regains birth weight by 2 weeks. All babies tend to lose around 10% of their weight. So that a 3 kg baby by the time of discharge becomes they may reach up to 2.7 and by 10 to 14 days they reach back to 3 kg. So the first 2 weeks is the most crucial period during breastfeeding. If the mother is successfully completing that, if the baby successfully regains the birth weight by 10 to 14 days, it means that it is a successful breastfeeding and it is going to continue till 6 months provided they are given an opportunity. How long should be breastfeeding continue? Exclusive breastfeeding till 6 months. Most of us know about it, and whether we follow or not is a different thing, but we all know that the right thing to do is exclusive breastfeeding till 6 months. But at 6 months, you start complementary feeds, but you continue breastfeeding and it has to be continued until at least the baby is 2 years of age. Now coming to special situations, preterm mothers. Try to visit the baby in an ICU as early as possible. You may be tensed in the beginning, but until that stage is over, your milk production is going to have a problem. Until that maternal instincts start setting in, the tension is released, oxytocin production doesn't happen, the milk doesn't come out, the prolactin doesn't come out, the milk production doesn't happen. So it's a cascade. So once you start visiting the baby early, you feel that you need to feed the baby, you start expressing milk and the breast start becoming empty, prolactin secretion starts and milk production increases. So even if the baby is not being fed your milk, still you have to express and keep your breast empty so that the milk production increases. And once the baby is stable, you start KMC, kangaroo mother care, where the baby is kept in skin-to-skin contact in between your breast. You start gaining confidence, you start getting the feel of the baby and you start secreting the lactation hormones. Once the baby is stable further, you can start giving NNS, empty your breast and make the baby suck your empty breast. So once that stimulation happens, you start lactating again. Once the baby is properly, adequately able to feed, start direct breastfeeding as early as possible. All these things will help you to start lactation and maintain that. Now the universal problem. What happens to the babies of working mothers? So if possible, take a work from home option. If possible, come home in between. If possible, take the baby with you. If none of these options are available, then use express breast milk instead of formula feeds. So what to do is the previous night, express breast milk from one side, store it in a refrigerator. You may use hand expression or you may use a breast pump. Using breast pump is slightly better to get adequate quantities and to cause less injuries. And storage of milk, you can store in room temperature for 4 to 6 hours, in refrigerator for a day, in a freezer for months. So storage of milk is not a problem. So the previous night, express the milk and store it in the refrigerator. The next day morning, you feed from one breast, from the other breast you express and store it in the room temperature. So the first cry, give the milk which is there in the room temperature. You need not warm it. It is quite okay. So give that. The next cry, thaw the milk which is in the refrigerator. Use another utensil, heat some water in it and immerse the milk in the container into that. Once the temperature of the milk is normal, give that milk. By the time, if you can visit the baby once, again feed once, express once more, give that express milk. By that way, you can actually, with direct breastfeeding and express breast milk, you may be able to pull through for first 6 months with exclusive breastfeeding itself, but you need to put a little bit of effort and you need to have a lot of family support. So once you are started to be pressurized from the family about starting other things, then automatically your breast milk production starts coming down. Now the next thing is traveling mothers. Now we have got breastfeeding pods coming up in malls and metro stations. So use those pods and try to continue breastfeeding itself. Or in our social setup, when there's a problem of people staring at you when you're feeding, try to ignore them, obviously, but it may take our society to change. So try to make yourself comfortable using a shawl or something and try to breastfeed even when you're traveling. Now something which everyone is worried about but is scared to ask, the formula feeding. So you have opted to go for formula feeding, knowing all the benefits of breastfeeding, your choice. No one can blame you, no one has the right to blame you. But if possible, always go for breastfeeding because that is always the best for your baby. Now you have tried with all your might, but still you have failed. Don't have to feel guilty about it. When you don't have the best choice, you have to go for the best available choice. So you may be forced to give formula feeding. But when you're giving formula feeds, you need to know that it is something which has to be given like medicine, with utmost care, without causing any damage or harm to the baby. It has to be diluted in proper proportion. That is the first step. So 30 ml water, 1 scoop powder. That is the usual standard dilution in our setup. Most of the formulas come in the same dilution. So increasing the water content, increasing the powder content as per your whims and fancies is strict no-no. Another important thing is choosing the right formula for your baby. So first 6 months is stage 1, next 6 months is stage 2, from 1 year onwards it's stage 3. For preterm babies, you have got preterm formulas, which is slightly richer in calories and protein, so it's better to opt for that. Then the most important thing is cleanliness of the formula you are preparing and you are giving to the baby. So there are a lot of interfaces coming in between the formula and the baby, right from spoons, flask, glass, utensil, bottle, nipple, your hands. So all these things come in between and there is risk of getting infection at each point. In fact, a baby on exclusive breastfeeding has got 10 times less risk than getting an infection when compared to a baby who is bottle fed. So proper formula, proper dilution and clean administration, very important. So clean administration, again there are 2 choices. One is using a spoon, Pallada or Gokarnam, and the second thing is using a bottle. So the problem with bottle feeding is when you're trying to continue breastfeeding along with formula feed, the baby gets milk easily from a bottle feed. So baby tends to stop breastfeeding, because breastfeeding you have to put in effort for the baby to get milk. But whereas in bottle feeding, the baby just need to wait and the bottle starts pouring in. So it's always good to avoid bottle feeding. If at all you're forced to go for bottle feeding, there are peristaltic nipple, physiological nipple. All these nipples are simulating the breastfeeding, so that the baby has to suck to get milk. So if possible, go for that. It's slightly costlier, but the best thing is to avoid bottle altogether. And when you are forced to formula feed along with breastfeeding, make sure that its formula is not given as a routine. If you are feeding for say 10 to 12 times a day, all the time try breastfeeding, and if the baby is not satisfied, then go for formula feed. So it has to be top up, like first breastfeeding, if possible express breast milk after that, and then only go for formula. Formula is always risky, has got high risk of infections, acute problems, long-term problems. So always go for the best option whenever possible, that is breastfeeding. If not, then go for the next best available option, or say like a medicine, choose a formula feed. But when you're giving formula feeds, make sure that you adhere to all the safety features while giving it. So hope you like this video and it was helpful for you. Thank you.